Oh, we don't need no fancy words. I mean, we need to practice. We need to rehearse.
I'll tell you what we need. We need some paying gigs. We don't need this messing around, first one patio and then another, and that's ridiculous. We don't got no goddamn band. We don't need to fucking practice with
it. Ready. All right. Here we are, No GD Band Podcast. This is Henry.
This is Chris.
And it's been what? How long?
I guess it feels longer than it's been, but it's just because we had to rush that last episode because we had the sweet interview you did with Tommy Stinson.
Man, I've had a week now to kind of think about how that went. I'm really glad that I got to talk to him.
Well, good. I'm glad we got to do that. And thanks again to Lunchbox and to Self-Aware Records for helping us set that up. Let's jump right in, Henry, because we got a guest coming.
Yep.
I guess we haven't done it in a while, but we need to do an update on the old hashtag MeToo tote board.
Well, there's the whole Stormy Daniels thing we haven't talked about. That's like today.
Yeah, I kind of count that as a Me Too kind of. I'm just kind of lumping that in.
It really doesn't count.
Okay, well, Mark Cuban counts, right?
Yeah, what did he do?
So I guess
I'm starting to get fatigue on it now.
I know, I am too. Cuban, he paid somebody off. He pulled a Trump kind of thing. So,
we talked earlier this week about that really good This American Life segment on the 5 women.
Yeah, that's really where I wanted to go with this. And you can. I don't want to cut you short on the Stormy Daniels thing, but
after listening to the whole story about some of these women and their relationship with Don Hazen.
So This American Life did a podcast titled 5 Women.
5 Women, yeah.
And it's all about Don Hazen, who I'd never heard of him before, but apparently he was the editor of Alternet, which was a liberal online
and if you're listening to us,
magazine.
You probably at some point in your life have read something from them.
I guess my take on that, Henry, and the reason I wanted to talk about it was it put me in the same position that short story did. Where I realized, and not so much the relationship these ladies had with Don Hazen, but the podcast went into their past because This American Life took the slant of, I want to know what these women, where they come from, what they're like. You read about these women in these stories now that accuse people, but you don't know anything about them. And so they kind of delved into each of these 5 women's past. And there was a lot of instances where they had encounters with people when they were younger, with men, that I didn't see actually crossing the line, but again, were super complicated things for these women, super complicated events. And it made me feel the same way that short story did, like, maybe I should just not interact with women anymore. There's a lot going on with women when they...
Well, the thing was, we live in a very male-focused society. Like, everything we do... is this is the male gaze, I guess they talk about, comes from our perspective, how we see it. It rarely gives us a way to look at the world back through their eyes, which that podcast does, and which that article did as well.
But
the internal dialogue involved with that.
But what I wanted to emphasize was some of the interactions that they were talking about that had a huge impact on these women when they were young were not really, I thought, the boys were not really crossing the line. The example I give is the one girl that was a tomboy that hung out with a group of friends that were boys one summer, and the next summer everyone's going through puberty, and all of a sudden they're always talking about this girl that they call the hypnotizer.
The hypnotizer.
When it turns out it's her. Right. But I can remember being 12 or 13 and an awkward boy, and I would never have gone up to a girl I was attracted to if she would talk to me already and use her name or say things about how she was attractive to me, which is, there's nothing wrong with a 13-year-old boy noticing boobs.
But if you're a party to, they're talking to each other about her being the hypnotizer and sort of labeling her that way and putting her in a psychological box.
I can see where that would bother her.
So that she doesn't know how to fucking react.
Right. I do not want anyone to think that I don't think her reaction was totally valid. But I also want to just take a step back and say, from the boy point of view, these are 12 and 13-year-old boys that are just discovering that their penises get hard when they look at girls in bikinis. Right. They're not the most nuanced. That.
They don't. But they're raised in a world that doesn't have to look at things from their perspective, so they don't have to think of it from her point of view.
No, and I get this. What I'm saying is, it just seems to me like maybe men should just leave women alone.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
have a solution
I know
to
that's silly going off the deep end, but that's where these stories are starting to make me feel like the best thing to do right now. Like, I'm so confused that women have so much more complicated things going on with the male-female interaction than we do, that I don't know that I will be able to understand it enough. Thank God I'm already married, and you know. But anyway, check out that podcast. I think it was really great, and I thought it was well done. And again, it hits that issue from a different angle. Anyway, okay, let's move on. We got more news. We got so much news that happened. Well, what do you think about congressional Republicans just declaring no collusion? The Russian investigation is over. We're shutting it down.
Yeah, the Democrats aren't going to be able to do much. They're going to continue their investigation, but they're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, but the actual committee is shut down because the Republicans control it. So, and see, this is the kind of thing, Henry, that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this in and of itself would be all we were talking about. It would be stunning news. You're now just like,
my mouth's open as I sit here and look at you.
But you're pretty much just like, here. Just throw another one at me. What's next? The Secretary of State's gone.
I'm punch drunk. I am.
That's what scares me, that we're going to get, this is going to be normalized to where we don't even care. Like, oh, the Supreme Court got disbanded today.
Yeah, oh well, just another, hey, I know, let's screw up the Supreme Court by putting incompetence in charge of that too. It's fatigue. All I can really do is look at 2018 and think maybe we're going to have some more Democrats in charge. Hopefully the Pennsylvania special election today may have said something about that.
Yeah, I think it does. I think we're all counting on that. I just hope we're not getting our hopes up too high and then no one turns out, but we'll see.
I mean, is the solution to just turn off? I mean, I have thought long and hard about not watching the news and trying to get happier. Like I walked in here today wanting to talk to you about stuff and I feel just like dragged to the ditch. My life concerns with, just keeping the lights on and doing work every day.
I think I go up and down. I go through periods where I want to just turn it off, and I do, and I just don't pay attention. But then I feel like that is the thing that's going to get us.
Yeah.
Like if we don't,
that the fatigue over it, that the disengagement will happen, and then that stuff you're talking about. Well, they just disbanded the Supreme Court today.
Right.
Will just happen with nobody paying attention.
Right.
Yeah, I've pivoted to just trying to watch stock and buy little stocks, hoping to get rich so I can buy an island someplace and never have to worry about it.
Well, if you get an island, let me know.
Great.
Anyway, we got a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get to our whiskey segment. We've got a guest coming in, and we'll bring it up to you next.
All right.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. No, don't ask why. For we must find the next whiskey bar. Or if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must find.
Yeah. So we're starting the whiskey segment, and our guest is here.
Oh, good. So you did have the mic on.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't. I just turned it on. But
Rascal.
His first name is John. His second name. His middle name is Fenn, and then his last name is Steila.
Right.
And we were saying, or I was saying, if I had a middle name as cool as Finn, I would go by Finn. I've always called you John, but you told me
All his friends call him Finn.
Right.
Yeah, most. And then, like, my family on my mother's side all call me John Finn.
Oh, really? The double name thing?
Yeah. And then my family on my father's side all call me John,
So you'll just answer whatever.
Right.
Except Steila or Steila.
Steila. Some people call me that, too.
Will you just
Steila.
let it go? Because my last name's horrible. Like, I get all kinds of...
He gets, yeah.
I get Lunin, Lannon, Lennon.
London.
I've even had people correct me when I told them how to say it, and they were like, "That's wrong." I was like, "Wow, that's awesome."
Was it at least in another country?
No, it was right here in the South. So if it sounds, folks, like we're eating, Finn did a wonderful thing and brought us cake.
Cake, man.
And I don't say that all guests have to bring us cake, but if you want to bring us cake, I think it's a bonus.
It was good to kind of sop up the whiskey a bit.
Yes, and he also brought the whiskey, and so Henry, tell us what he brought us.
Finn brought Tullamore Dew.
Whoa.
Tullamore?
I think it's Tullamore.
Tell us about it, Finn.
Tullamore
Why'd you
Dew,
pick it?
Irish whiskey.
This is my favorite Irish whiskey in this class as far as this price range for this. Jameson would be comparable to that, but I prefer. I think the Tullamore's got more of a body and a bit of a sweeter taste.
Nice.
Jameson's a bit thinner.
Do you know
and
much
more
about
charcoaly?
Right. Do you know much about all that classification stuff that people?
No.
Because we've been raked over the coals once about that.
We've I think Henry and I both feel like we've kind of started finding out that we like rye whiskey a lot. And I've kind of found that Irish tends to be what I've liked the most. We were not aficionados when we started. We just wanted to drink whiskey and talk.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm by no means any kind of expert or anything.
we're learning.
connoisseurs at all.
We're learning. So this is really good stuff. So thanks for bringing it.
Sure, no
And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to the main segment, I just wanted to, I kind of wanted to tell the story. I told Finn I was going to tell the story. So
Sure.
He's in a local band here called Heart of a Ghost. And my first encounter was not actually on the music scene, or we didn't meet each other really out playing. I was in my front yard getting ready to mow the lawn. And there was a festival going on up in Plaza Midwood. I don't remember what the festival was.
Common Ground.
Common Ground. And it was in the middle of the summer, right?
What kind of festival is that?
A lot of artisans,
Okay.
local artisans.
Okay.
But-
local music.
They'd set a stage up, I believe, at the end of Commonwealth and blocked the street off. And I heard this band playing, and I distinctly remember, I think hearing, there was a horn, right, or a saxophone? Trumpet, okay. And the more I listened, like I'd been hearing music for most of the day, and it didn't really, when you're a little bit farther away, you just kind of hear the...
Yeah.
But man, I loved what you were doing. I heard it and I was like, this is great. I gotta go see this. So I just walked up, and I think you finished I think I saw one song at the stage, but then I approached you afterwards and said how much I liked it and that I played in the band, and then from there on we ended up playing some shows together.
Yeah, which was awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So he's in a great band here in Charlotte, and it was amazing going out and seeing them that first time. And we're gonna play some of their music. We're gonna talk some other stuff. He's turns out a big UFO and ghost supernatural
You haven't
buff,
told our thing, right?
just like me. No, we're gonna tell that a little bit. But I've been waiting for this. This is gonna be
This is our moment.
and this is gonna be a multi-episode thing. Like I'm coming back to this topic because this is a big kind of topic
It
for
is a
me.
thing.
But we're gonna get into some UFO and supernatural stuff as well as some music. So let's go ahead and go to the main segment now.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. No, don't ask why. For we must find the next whiskey bar. Or if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must
Let's start with some music.
Play some of his stuff, man.
Yeah. What would you like to play first? And is there a story behind it?
I was thinking to do, if we talked about the Gomez connection.
Yeah,
first,
I wanted to talk about that.
Then we could play Tight Lip Kiss first, and then the next song, Lep Castle, that's about a haunted castle the world's most haunted castle that I went to visit in Ireland.
Awesome. Okay,
So
well, that'll
I
be
figure
perfect.
Since we'll be talking about ghosts later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll end with that. Let's go ahead and play Tight Lip Kiss by Heart of a Ghost, and then we'll come back and hear the story behind the song.
One time the stars they smiled at me. And then they chose to strike me down. The way her wings cast shadows now. I think about it every day. you wore the setting sun. My mouth was wide, wide open My mouth was wide, wide open first. She just gave me a tight-lipped kiss, a tight-lipped kiss for me. At night we lay on heaven's floor. Just a short distance from the feet of God. The thing we made still lingers here. Watches me sleeping when the lights go out. As you wish me diamond. As you wish me
All right, so I used to be a huge Gomez fan. Throughout my life, I've never been into a band as much as them. I used to travel. I went by myself to California to see them play in LA and San Francisco. Saw them 3 nights in a row at the Fillmore.
Give a little backstory for people that don't know Gomez.
Gomez released their first album in '98 called Bring It On, and they won the Mercury Award for it, which is the UK's version of the Grammy.
Of a Grammy, right.
But it's more selective. So
I think so too, yeah. It has a little bit more of an artistic integrity to it than the Grammy, I think.
That's what I feel too. So they became a pretty big success with that, and I started going to shows and meeting other people that were big fans and stuff like that. I've still got a lot of friends that I've met through that, but just being around shows and meeting the band a couple times. They played here, this was like 8 years ago maybe.
Okay.
I went back, I just walked backstage after the show, and Ian, it's weird, they don't really have a lead singer. They have like two or three guys that switch off singing lead. Ian is the guy in the band that I admire the most. I think has the most musicianship as far as talent in him. I asked him, would he give a listen to my recordings, which I hadn't finished like an album yet, but I had.
Had you put the band together at that point, or
No,
was it just
it was
your
just
stuff?
me.
Okay.
So what
at
kind
home.
of recordings were they? Were they like home stuff?
Yeah, recorded in my home
Pro
studio
Tools,
on
that
Pro
kind of thing?
Tools. Yeah. And so I gave him the CD. He said, yeah. And then the next day they were playing in Asheville at the Orange Peel. And I went to that show. and went backstage, and I said, hey, what did you think of the CD? And I didn't even know Gomez had posted on their Twitter account something like Rocking Out the Heart of a Ghost or something like that. So they were listening to my CD on the bus on the way to Asheville, and I guess they liked it.
That's great.
Yeah. So Ian was like, I love it, and he's like, was like singing back to me some of my parts of some of my songs, and he's like, he had his own record label, still does. He's out of LA. He's like, I'll help you, I want to help you with this and remix some stuff and maybe have you come to LA and re-record some parts and stuff like that. And I was like, this guy's one of my contemporary music heroes.
Well, how did you get to meet the guy or go back and hand him the thing? Did you have to wheel your way backstage somehow?
I just snuck backstage.
Just snuck.
Yeah, just walked back there when nobody was looking.
Slip through the curtain.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And so he ended up producing the song.
Well, he sent. So I sent him. I was like, all right, well, all this is too good to be true, and whatever, And he asked me for my email, and I was like, I'm never gonna hear from him again,
Right.
And he emailed me right away. He said, here's my home address. Send me all your recordings on a hard drive. I was like, okay. And so I did, and he immediately remixed one of my songs and sent it back to me. And then we would go in and out of being in touch. He wouldn't always respond to me. They were on tour, in and out of going on tour a lot. Mm-hmm. But for this Heart of a Ghost's first and only album, which I think we released 2 years ago, maybe in July, I asked him, hey, would you mix this song, And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And we worked out a deal. So I sent him the files, and he not only mixed it, but he said, I felt like you needed a bit more guitar in this bit, and so I laid down a guitar track on it, too. It's a nice bonus, Mm-hmm.
So just from a production standpoint for the record, when you got it all back, I know you loved it, but did it feel different than the rest of the record, the way you had, you know what I mean, like production-wise and stuff? Were you kind of bummed that or did you ask him to do the whole record, or were you just like, I'm so happy with this one, I can...
I had already had everything else pretty much finished.
And you were happy with the sound of it compared to the way this one came back sounding?
I mean, if I would have had the money, I might have considered that, but I didn't, so it wasn't even a question.
Right. The record turned out great.
The record's so consistent, man.
Awesome, yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, I listened to it in the car all week this week, and I was kind of cycling through the songs. I think I hear stuff probably about the Apostle Paul, maybe? Is there something in there about that? Am I way off base? Is there anything like that? Because I asked Chris, I said, is John like a Christian?
Yeah, he had asked me this week, he kind of texted me, he was like, is there a Christian thing going on? And I didn't hear that in there, but then
maybe I just hear, and I keep thinking, well, he called it Heart of a Ghost. I wonder if he means like the Holy Ghost, and there was one song, it was Blinding Light. It was about, how Saul of Tarsus had the light.
I can see that.
And he went blind, and I thought maybe he's alluding to that.
See, that's
because on the record, it seems like you're sort of reaching out for something beyond what we are. I don't know if...
See, that's the part where I hear, like, I've heard lots of artists when they're interviewed about their stuff, and they always say, whatever's in it is what you hear. Like, I'm not interpreting for you.
I'm glad that he's not, like, saying, yeah, that's what it's about. Because I got to put your own thing in my thing in there and to wonder about it. It's cool. Like it's kind of there's an air of mystery about it, if you know what I mean.
I'm gonna let you, Fenn, tell us, but I assumed it was called Heart of a Ghost because of the whole supernatural. Like that's kind of your part of your thing, but is that wrong?
I sat around and thought for quite a while on what would be a cool name that reflected the sound that I was going for. I've always struggled with melancholy and depression, and I figured that was a part of it. And then the idea came to me, and it just kind of clicked.
Did you? And I keep harping on the horns because I love that. That was the first thing I kind of heard. Did you always want horns, or was that something that came along just because of the player?
I think it was more finding the player. Probably half of the songs on the album I recorded all the parts on, and I don't play horns.
Right.
Well, you did
Not
the
your-
horns-
not your thing.
You did the horns right. You know how sometimes you listen to horns on records and they're so kind of over the top or in your face, or they bleat too much, or they've decided to.
We haven't
write
really
the song
debated this
around it.
yet on the pod, but Henry and I have a divide at horns. Like I'm a big. I think Bowie turned me around on saxophone. Like I was kind of in the Henry camp because I think my main exposure to it was like.
I think it was
Do you remember that? You remember that? Lost Boys.
Yeah,
You remember
I knew that's what I was thinking of.
That was
the guy with no shirt.
Yeah, the guy
on.
with no
that-
shirt
the
on.
ponytail,
Yeah,
crazy
I
ponytail.
still believe and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So that was my whole like I hate horns. But then like
That's what I think. Imagine when like 80s pop song,
Yes,
sax
right.
solo. That,
Right.
I see that guy.
so you guys have only got one record out right now. Are you working on a new one? What's going on with Heart of a Ghost?
Yes,
Because this record's like came out in 2015 or something, right?
I think so. Yeah, but yeah, I'm working on a new one right now.
And this one is available on all the streaming services, and people can buy it and all that stuff for the people out there that are listening.
Yeah, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Napster.
All the big
CD
ones.
baby.
Napster.
MySpace.
CD baby. Who the hell does that?
Okay, so yeah, so you guys are
Big
currently
lots.
working, right? We're gonna play a Gomez song because me and you, Finn, kind of decided we wanted to play a little Gomez.
Yeah,
because I was a fan too.
Well, so they haven't toured forever. I think it's been 7 years, maybe.
At least, yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
still together?
I mean,
Technically?
I mean, they haven't put out a record. So the only reason they're touring now is because it's the 20th anniversary of the release of that first album,
Right.
and all the shows they're going to play just the first album in
Right.
its entirety. So June 10th, they're going to play in Asheville at the Orange Peel. That's the closest they'll come to here, and I'll definitely
Yeah,
be
I definitely
there.
want to do that as well. That'd be great. So, what song would you want to play off that first record?
I would play Get Miles, the first song.
Okay, let's do that.
I love the silence, but there's silence killing me. Sitting here in silence, man, I don't get no peace. The waves upon my shore take me away, piece by piece. Gonna leave everything I know, gonna head out towards the sea. Jump off the silence, gonna head out towards the sea. I love this city, man, but this city's killing me. Sitting here and all this noise, man, I don't get no peace. The cars below my street take me away, piece by piece. Gonna leave everything I know, gonna head out towards the sea. Gonna leave this city, man, gonna head out towards the sea. Get miles away, get miles away, get miles away, get miles.
That's what we do, man.
All right, that was Gomez. I think Finn had one more quick story, which was pretty cool about the music.
Yeah, I was just saying when I met with Ian the day after I gave him the CD of my recordings, I said, "What's next for me? What should I do?" And he said, "Put a band together." And I said, "Okay."
Did you know musicians before then, or did you have to sort of jump outside your box? And
I was actually playing with another band.
Oh.
I had a talk with them at band practice. I said, "Do y'all want in on that or not?" And they said, "Yeah." So
that worked out great.
So him talking
Yeah.
to you is a real shot in the arm.
But you,
Right, you know.
yeah.
and before that, you just had the demos. You weren't really even thinking about it as a band thing, necessarily.
No, I wasn't.
Wow.
I wasn't thinking on putting a band together.
And did you let him know that he had that kind of influence on what you were doing?
Oh, he's gonna know now. I'm gonna tweet the guy
Right.
after this is over with.
I don't think we ever talked about that specifically.
Well, we'll ask him when he's on the program because Finn's going to get him on the program for sure.
Yeah,
at
we'll
some
call
point.
him.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I could probably work that out.
Yes. I love it. Okay, that'll be great. So, okay, let's do a little UFO talk. So, it's interesting to me. I have this weird duality where I don't believe in religion at all. I'm pretty much an atheist. But then on the other hand, I really do believe in ghosts and the supernatural. And I was trying to think, how do I square those two things? What it did for me,
how do you square those two
I
things?
figured it out. Organized religion is bullshit to me. So maybe I'm not an atheist. Maybe I'm actually do believe there's something else out there. I'm just sick of all this organized shit that is thrown in our face. But I really do believe I've seen a ghost. I also am almost 100% sure I've seen a UFO. So
I know we've seen a UFO.
right, because we saw it together. But do you guys see my duality?
Yeah,
Like my,
sounds like you're more of an agnostic than an atheist. An atheist is to say you're an atheist is quite
Quite different than
definitive.
agnostic. An
To
agnostic.
be an agnostic is to leave the space open for
But if-
possibilities.
which
If
I
you
hate
think-
because my atheism said until I'm proven by the scientific method that there is something out there, I'm not an agnostic.
I mean, if you're an
Yeah,
atheist, you
sure.
can't really believe in ghosts.
Depends on
Right.
what you think the nature of the ghost is. If you think it's a person that died and their spirit lives on, then maybe you need to deal with something about the afterlife and what you think of
That's
that.
true as well.
But if you don't, then you could think, well,
It could be
this is
just
another.
a-
Stephen Hawking, who died today, said
God-
that.
God bless him.
Yeah,
Yeah, God bless him.
Like remember when John? Exactly.
Oh, you got me.
Wait a second. I'm not going to lose that moment in his egg.
Damn it!
Can we take a
not
drink
an
for Stephen
atheist.
Hawking, please?
Sure. God rest his soul.
76 years old. He might agree with you that you're seeing some alternate version of something, some rift,
Sure.
some rift in the universe that has caused you to see an echo of something. It doesn't necessarily mean that,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And in that sense, it's natural. Like I don't,
But it's- but
maybe I don't know
still-
what supernatural means.
Ben, let's. So where you stand on the supernatural and religion?
Well, that's a broad question.
I know, right?
That gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it?
Heart of the ghost.
That's right.
Cheesy. I'm cutting that out.
Don't. You gotta leave that in there. That's the best one.
I used to be a super devout Catholic.
I knew I smelled something, man.
So much
I-
so
I can smell the guilt.
I knew it.
I went to seminary to become a priest.
Wow.
See, and he told me that I was like, I
Thanks.
smelled some echoes of belief in there, something.
And then after I ended up deciding that I didn't want to become a priest. I left the seminary, and this wasn't just any seminary. It was a order of priests that basically ignored Vatican II. So like all the rituals were in Latin, and it was all like super strict. You know, you
Really?
still
Right.
didn't eat
Wow.
meat on Fridays and all that. After that, I wanted to enter a Benedictine monastery. That didn't work out. Several years after that, I abandoned Christianity altogether.
So the Benedictine thing didn't work out because there weren't enough altar boys around, or was it just a?
No, it wasn't that. They
Whoa,
weren't,
that was out. I'm cutting that out. That was
I
a
didn't-
cheap shot.
I was trying to process something like that. Was that a good question? Was it? I didn't understand where you were going with it.
Yeah, I was going
Like,
to
what do you
pedophilia
mean,
with it. I was going
altar
straight
boys?
to the most raw,
Must there be?
awful
I'm
thing.
thinking like.
What was the real
must
reason
there
that it
be
didn't
altar boys?
work out? If you don't mind me asking, was it a faith issue or was it the strictness of what you were doing?
It wasn't, at that time, it wasn't a faith issue. I still believed in the program. A couple years later, and a lot of people would ask me, how could you leave the faith after putting yourself in a position where you were ready to dedicate your life to this?
Right.
And I think it was because I studied that I was able to make that decision. Analyzing the evidence of biological evolution, and
Right.
for example, also played a part.
Would you say
Right.
that in your when you sort of rejected Christianity, are you still a believer of a kind, or
I still
in something,
believe
or-
in God. I don't think I'll ever be an atheist. I'll take truth wherever I can find it, whatever system it might be in.
Do you see why I might think that on your record that I hear you reaching for
Yeah,
something more?
and you're right. And at that time that I wrote most of those songs,
Yeah.
I think I was still a Christian.
Sure, yeah, I'm very familiar with that. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness as a kid, and so visions of the apocalypse, you carry those things around with you. Mm-hmm. That's a totally other subject, but I identify with what a lot of what you're talking about.
I was listening to the show that Neil deGrasse Tyson took over from.
Cosmos, yeah, that's what I love.
You look around the universe, and as far as we can reach into the universe that we can observe, what do we find there? We find all the elements that we already are familiar with. We don't find these alien elements that we've never encountered before.
Yeah, the universe is all made up of the same building blocks.
The universe is made up of a pretty short list of components.
Right. But so let's bring this back, though, because I want to get into ghost stories. So do you have supernatural and UFOs? Tell me about that. Have you had experiences, I guess is what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right, now that's the good stuff. Let's hear about that.
Let's darken the lights.
Let's do that.
You got some candles?
Now wait, I want to delineate because to me UFOs are more scientific and ghosts are more supernatural. Which type or both have you had? Unifying theory of ghosts.
There is a unifying
theory.
theory.
Oh shit!
I know aliens. The ghosts.
God damn it!
Aliens,
All right, well, tell me, are your experiences more in the ghost realm or the UFO realm?
I've experienced both.
Great. Give me your best shot of both.
What's interesting is you'd mentioned that you and Henry witnessed a UFO together, and me and my best friend growing up, we witnessed a ghost. More of probably a demon, actually, is what we saw.
Well, how did we be able to differentiate between a ghost and a demon?
Well,
God Almighty. First of all,
it's kind of subjective, but anyway, the story goes, we were about 13. We were going skiing the next day. We were probably about 3 a.m. We were sleeping. We were laying next to each other. Totally not gay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Totally fine if it was gay.
And all of a sudden, I
would just have to switch the background music is all.
Yeah. A viola, please.
Maybe
I sat up. I was dead asleep, and I sat up. I woke up. I didn't really wake up. It's hard to explain. I sat up and opened my eyes, and I saw this figure standing at the foot of the bed. The way I describe it to people, because I've told this story a lot of times, is it looked like one of the Black Riders from Lord of the Rings, hooded, kind of like the Grim Reaper, but
like a hooded
shadow
that
face.
was darker than the dark.
Yeah, about 7 feet tall, and it was standing at the foot of the bed. I looked at it, I saw it, I said, "Oh my God." And I closed my eyes, I laid back down, and I continued sleeping. And then when I woke up in the morning, my buddy Mike, he said, "Did you see that last night?" And I said, "Yes," because I thought it was maybe just a dream. And he said, "Well, what did you see?" And he described to me the same thing that I had seen.
That's how Henry and I verified it to each other, because we instantly asked each other, but we wouldn't tell. Like I wanted to hear what he saw first. So, do you think the feeling that you got when you saw that is what made you determine it was an alien?
A ghost?
How did you know it was a demon or not a alien?
And by demon, you mean probably something more evil.
Or yeah, something menacing.
Because I had already experienced ghosts. I tend to think that ghosts are more like
humans.
Spirits of humans that once lived that are trapped between planes, and a demon is more of a.
It's not human. It hadn't been human before.
Yeah, it never lived. It's just a purely spiritual.
Its existence that you were
entity
witnessing was what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Did this thing have a face?
No,
it was just dark on dark.
Just shadow.
Did you ever see the same thing again, or did you ever encounter that same entity
again? No, just
again?
that once.
And your friend described it the same exact way you did.
Yeah.
And when you saw it, you didn't notice him even being awake, right?
I didn't notice.
Right.
And what the funny thing is, the way he described it to me, he was actually awake, conscious. I wasn't. He told me about how he saw me sit up and say, "Oh my God," and then lay back down.
So he even described what you said, what you said. Wow, that's pretty cool. And where were you guys? Tell me where you guys were again.
We were in what is in my house, which is still my bedroom.
And you. So you've never seen anything or felt any presence in that bedroom since then.
There was a time where I would go to sleep and my bed would vibrate and shake.
And you still want to sleep there now?
Yes, because I
do you have trouble having female companionship in that room?
No, I won't be defeated by that, and that's the thing that a lot of these spirits want is they want to feed off of your fear. If you transcend that, then they have no power.
And I'm going to ask you again. So you still sleep in this room?
Yes, I'm still sleeping in that room.
My mouth is open.
In the same place.
In the same place.
Yes.
Excellent. All right.
How old
and my
were we?
bed is in the exact
how old
same
were
place
you?
that it was.
How long
then
ago
when
was that?
happened.
How old were you?
I was 13 when that happened. I'm 41 now.
Same house.
Yeah.
So you live
Same
in your
room,
childhood
and
home.
the bed is in the same place.
When my daughter was little, Jessica and I were sitting in the living room.
I feel like we need a campfire. Can we just light the kitchen on fire right in the middle of the...
I mean, this table would go up like...
Yeah, it would
like
go
that.
up pretty quick, wouldn't it? Yeah.
But she goes, and Jessica and I were just sitting there. It was a normal night. We were just sitting there looking at each other, watching TV and whatever, and Bijou was small.
Is this the witch story?
Oh, you already told it.
Oh, no.
No, you
Tell
ruined
it.
it
No,
for the
I didn't
whole
ruin it.
people.
It's great. I'll go ahead.
She's walking up and down the hallway, being a kid, la-di-da.
How old was she at this
toddler.
point?
God, not very long. Not very. 3?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, and think about this. It's been 3 or 4, so she's not really...
And so she goes, the mic will pick me up even if I do this. She's like this, sort of swinging her arms around. No big deal. She's saying, you know what? What? There's a witch in your hall.
There's a witch in your hall.
There's a witch in your hall.
I used
Like,
to
it's
say
no
this
big
all the
deal.
time. When he first told me this years ago, I'd always just messing around and I always say, you got a witch in your house.
Well, who was
I'll
it?
say. But yeah, I mean.
But when entities appear to little kids, that's pretty I think that happened. I think it happened.
She has a great imagination.
I think that
I love Down.
children are a lot more open.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys had this. I had an imaginary friend.
Sure.
When I was a
right.
kid.
He was Frosty
Bless
the
your
Snowman.
heart.
Mine was definitely not a snowman.
Frosty the Snowman.
But
was my friend.
mine was an actual mine was more of a person type person.
Did you wet your bed?
You mean
Maybe.
at
Okay.
some point?
Next question. That's okay.
Bedwetter.
Forget I said anything.
Okay, I wet the bed until I was 14. Okay. Damn it, Finn. No, but what I was saying was, I think at the time, as a child, you see all of that kind of stuff as normal. You even out back in my yard, if I was out playing in the sandbox, if some sort of thing had walked up to me, I wouldn't have seen that as strange because you haven't set what your worldview is.
Because everything was brand new to you.
Yeah, nobody
right?
told you that deer are not going to walk up to you or rabbits are not going to come up and talk to you. So if one had, you'd just been like...
You're not smart enough to be frightened.
And a child doesn't is all I'm saying. A child doesn't have those kind of limits.
Right.
Okay, so tell us about... You've got a UFO story as well.
Yes. All right. Well, I was a senior in high school. I was 17. Something caught my eye. Looked weird out the window. I stood up and I went and gazed out the window, and I saw a craft descending. It had 4 major lights on it, and it looked like it was landing across the street from my house, which was, probably about, I would estimate 200 yards away. I remember just sitting there watching it and just in disbelief. Unexplainable thing that I've ever witnessed as far as something that has to do with UFOs that I've ever seen.
Was it like a stereotypical UFO, like the disc thing? Or
All I saw was the lights, because it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
But there was 4 huge lights on it, and it came down.
But there was something between the lights, right? Is what I'm hearing, right? Like the
Well,
lights.
it's definitely 4 distinct lights.
But
it
not
was like a
anything
saucer,
connecting.
probably like a saucer type shape.
So Henry and I also had a UFO sighting, out of the sunroof of my car.
And what were we listening to? Let's say it right at the same time.
You
the
go
record
ahead.
was called. The artist was
The.
and
I know that.
And the album was Mind Bomb.
right, it was Mind Bomb, and we were listening to it together. And it was right over here on Monroe Road. I lived in an apartment on Summey Avenue, and Chris was dropping me off.
This is near the corner of Sharon Amity
Right.
and Monroe Road, for those of you that are Charlotte.
Now we had a
people.
long weekend. We probably drank a lot. We were both tired. I'll give us that.
Who are not drunk.
But we were not drunk. We were young, and we were.
This is like Sunday night.
So,
yeah.
Sunday night, and we had to go to work on Monday. But we were lying there, or we were lying back, looking out the sunroof.
So we're just chilling, finishing the record, and looking out the sunroof. I see something darker than the night, so it's black. It's black on black. It's like darker than
Right.
the dark of the night. It comes across kind of slowly across the sunroof, slowly enough that I think my first thought is it's an airplane.
Or maybe a weird bird or a kite, even.
Maybe even a kite. I can't. Yeah, my depth perception is kind of because it's black on black. So I don't know if it's 15 feet above me or 15,000 feet above me. But it's not that big. But it stops and turns right at a dead 90-degree right angle. Yeah. So we did the same kind of thing you did when you experienced something together. I didn't really want to tell Henry what it was I saw. So I think he said, "Did you see that?" I was like, "What do you mean? Did I see what?"
And I said, and he's like, "What did you see?" I said, "I saw like." The thing that I kept thinking of is, do you remember what is the spy plane?
Yes, the stealth bomber.
The stealth bomber. Looked like a stealth bomber, but a lot smaller.
And it made the thing that blew my mind was it made a right angle turn. It made a 90-degree turn at like speed, which I've never
didn't make any sense.
I've never seen anything do that before.
Nothing really does that.
Right.
It doesn't just go like that.
And so for me, that is an unidentified flying object.
By definition.
I don't know that it's a alien. I'm just saying it could have been a military vehicle, but I don't know any military.
Not at that time.
I don't even know now.
Not in the early 90s.
I don't know that anything humans can make can go at a dead right angle. But I could be wrong. But that was our
Yeah, I mean, if the craft is traveling at
speed,
2,000
right?
miles an hour, and then it
Makes
abruptly
Dead stop. Right
shifts,
angle.
like everybody inside dies.
Yes, right. You're right. Yeah, everyone's slammed against the side.
The men still here, they don't talk, they just sit, they don't walk. Winds that sweep these ancient walls, sound as voices in these halls. The shadows touch on your face. They are living in our place. The benches howl heard over this light. Now a memory long forgot. But these poor souls to death would stare. It remains. The ghost of love.
Okay, so the song you just heard was Lep Castle by Heart of a Ghost. I want to thank Fenn Steila for coming in and hanging out with us in the kitchen. Unfortunately, we talked so long and we drank a little bit too much whiskey so that I didn't get a proper ending on that segment. But I definitely wanted to play that song for you guys. Henry and I both did. It's a great song, and we want to thank him for coming out. Also, we're going to do a little something different here when we go into the current events section. We're going to start it with a song from a band called OMNI that you'll hear a lot more about in the current events section. And this is Southbound Station.
You said to meet at the center of Lenox Square. I'm drenched in sweat, and you can bet I'm already there. You look good in the daytime. You look good, do you need a ride? To the southbound station. You know the one where we met. Southbound station. You know the one where the signs will be. You forget to pay your rent, and I don't feel alone. I'm just waiting on the vibration. You said to meet at the corner of Boulevard. I've been thinking about the last time that you and I used the car. You look good in the daytime. You look better than you did last night. The southbound station, no one where we met. Southbound station, no one where the signs will be. You forget to pay your rent, and I don't feel alone. I'm just waiting on the
All right, current events. So, Henry, we've got to do a setup for a setup here.
A setup for a setup.
Yeah, so the setup, the first setup, I'm going to let you do the second setup, but the first setup is, before Henry talked to Tommy Stinson, we had a chance to interview a band that Henry had discovered called OMNI.
Right.
Which played a show at Snug Harbor about a month ago.
Right, and somehow I tweeted the guys, or talked to them on Facebook, one or the other, and we organized a brief interview at the bar.
This band is from Atlanta. Really great young band.
Yeah, place was full of sort of younger folks. We were probably the older guys there, and we set up sort of at the back, and we're having a few drinks, me and Chris and my wife.
And Henry'd set this up. The guys were nice enough to say they would let us do an interview before they played. They were the headliner.
Yeah, and so, but we waited around. We thought, well, maybe they weren't going to show or something like that. And the other band had started. So Jessica and I left and went inside to watch the other band, Convoy.
So yes,
play.
Convoy was going to play
and
next.
So while they were coming up, I told Chris to bring his really good, high quality recorder into the place, and he did. But we had left him, and in the interim time, they approached Chris. They found him.
Yeah, the singer found me and said, "Are you the guy
Chris
from this podcast that wants to interview us?" Now, I want to say this, Henry, in my defense, before we play the setup.
There's been a lot of water under the bridge since.
Okay,
then,
but
right?
I thought what I was supposed to do for this interview was bring the recorder.
Right.
So just a little behind the scenes info, folks, and you've probably heard this with the Tommy Stinson interview that Henry's done, which was actually happened after. Henry is our go-to interview guy.
Well, yeah.
That's not my strong point.
We're a good tag team interview guys. I
Well,
think.
maybe, but I think you're better at interviewing than I'm not ashamed to say that. But anyway, Henry was not around, and so I attempted to do an interview with the band OMNI's lead singer and bass player on my own, while Henry was watching another band. So what we've done, because Henry, is it safe to say the interview was horrible?
Nope, it's not horrible.
Okay.
I've seen horrible.
Okay, but it was not
I mean,
good. Okay, so the interview's not really good.
That sucked.
My apologies to Omni, but this is real. This is real, and I want and as our listeners, I would like you to know one other thing. This is like a week. No, not even a week. This is like 3 days before we learned that we were going to interview Tommy Stinson, which I think is karma because I had to go out of town. So I told Henry.
And so I had to take the heat on that.
Guess what, asshole who just critiqued my interview? You're going to get to interview one of your top 5 heroes of all time.
Here you go, Henry.
Go ahead.
See what you can
Take
do
this.
there.
So here it is. This is
Interview man. You think you're fucking Charlie Rose or some shit?
so
Here you go.
Here is karma is the bitch. So here's our interview with Omni.
You're great. We are. We do a podcast. It's ostensibly about whiskey and bourbon.
Oh, cool.
But basically, it's just an excuse so we pick a different whiskey or bourbon and we drink the whole hour and talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
That's awesome.
And we both used to play in bands and stuff. I'm probably older than your dad, but like, but we found your band. We loved what you sounded like. We were like,
Oh, thank you.
we were gonna play you on the next podcast anyway. We were gonna
Oh,
play a
sick.
song, but
Yeah.
then we saw you were coming, and I was like, oh fuck, we gotta.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
But
Sounds
first-
like a fun podcast.
It's awesome, man. We just sit in my kitchen, we drink, and then talk about whatever we want to talk about.
I would like to do that.
That's
podcast.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, next time you come
Yeah.
to Charlotte, I'll get a little email. Maybe we can do that.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So, what is if you have a favorite bourbon or whiskey?
I would say that my go-to bourbon or whiskey, or bourbon, my go-to bourbon is probably Bullet. I know that's kind of basic, but I think it's just the best bang for your buck, like,
I love Bullet.
way to go.
So, like our 4th episode, the first Charlotte band that we interviewed, that was the singer's favorite. Was Bullet too. So we did Bullet. That already. I love Bullet too. That's
yeah.
great.
Oh, cool.
So that's a good one.
Yeah.
And so you guys are from Atlanta.
Right.
Tell me about. I didn't want to name drop the bands, but tell me about some of your influences or what you think you guys sound like.
I don't know. At this point, it's tough. It's kind of evolved, but I think originally we were really excited about a lot of like new wave music and a lot of like glam and punk and just anything from like the mid 70s to like the early 80s was really kind of what we were jiving with. So
Yeah, and I think that kind of attracted me and Henry because that was our wheelhouse time.
yeah.
So there was a couple bands like a band called Shoes and a band called Palvo
We
that
love
I kind of grew
Shoes.
up on.
Yeah.
Oh, you love Shoes? Okay.
Yeah, I have all the reissues.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah,
So when Henry played it for me the first time, I was like, oh my god, these guys are like right in our wheelhouse.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome. And so, did you guys like find that stuff through like your own like music knowledge, or how did you find that like new wave kind of punk?
Find shoes and find all that.
Yeah.
Well, just going to record stores and buying records.
Right.
Really. In Atlanta, we have Wax and Facts, which is kind of an institution. That's like where Pylon and the B-52s records, or original records, were put out and stuff like that.
Right. Sure.
And then there's another one called Criminal, and between the two of those, I kind of got all the records that I know and love, and may shape me into whatever it is that I am now.
You are now, right?
Yeah.
How long have you guys been playing music together as a group?
Probably like 3 years or something. But Frankie and I have known each other for a long time.
Okay.
So.
And Frankie was in Deer Hunter before.
Yeah, but
doing this.
Balkans when we met, he was in a band called Balkans, and I was in a group called Carnivores.
Okay.
And both of those groups did a pretty good bit of traveling around 2010.
Okay.
And a little before, a little after, and then they broke up. And he was in Deer Hunter for a little while, and then I took some time off, and then we kind of came together again.
Did you guys have a set idea for like what kind of instrumentation and how many people you wanted to do, or did you just?
No, we just started writing songs for fun. Like it was just kind of like,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, like we had no plan at all.
Which is kind of cool because it's
yeah.
open-ended, so there's no okay. And like, how do you guys write? Do you both bring songs, or do you just write all together?
We just write together, yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know, we might like come up bring like a riff to practice, but then it'll just kind of turn into its own thing.
Right. Are you guys constantly writing, or did you write like specifically for each of the 2 records, or
Constantly.
constantly writing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of toured
Quite a bit, yeah.
Are you able to write while you're touring?
Not while we're on tour. We kind of like to be in a very specific headspace. So we actually, when we're on tour, we don't even bother with it.
Oh, really? You don't
at all.
even at all? Okay.
Yeah, it's all fun and pleasure, you know.
Right.
So,
Just having a good time.
Yeah,
What's the longest, or what's the average length of a tour when you guys go out?
I mean, we do everything from weekends to like 5 or 6 weeks at a time. So
Is that
it
like
just depends.
being an old fogey? Like I'm from the generation where like trying to get signed, and actually the record is where you make the money.
Right.
Where now I guess live is kind of the deal.
Right.
Do you guys actually make enough money doing the live performances? Like, is that the reason you do it, or are you just doing it to kind of get your name?
Oh yeah, I mean that's our bread and
That's your
butter.
bread and butter, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you guys line up your tours yourself, or does your record label do that? Or?
We have agents.
You have agents, okay.
Yeah, they take care of it.
What's your favorite place to play? Like, is it U.S. or I know you've been to Europe too, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we like it all. I mean, they're fun for different reasons.
Right.
You know, Europe is always fun to explore, especially since, you know, there's always like some place that we've never been that's exotic and
Right.
Whereas like, you know, we've kind of done the U.S. like a million times now, but it's still fun to
go
explore
around.
cities and
Right.
see, you know, meet different people. And
What's your favorite city in U.S. from a like music playing standpoint?
music playing standpoint? That's a tough one.
Does it all kind of run together?
A little bit, but I don't know. We do really well, and we do really well in a lot of major cities, so that's cool.
So that would be better, yeah.
Yeah, we like New York's always great.
Right.
Chicago, San Francisco, LA, Austin, Texas is always a blast.
Oh, I love Austin too, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys done South by Southwest?
Yep.
Yeah,
we're
that's-
going as well this year. So.
The best part when we went was just getting the wristband so we could go in to see all the different shows. That's
Yeah.
That was like.
Yeah.
So, as far as like clubs, do you have like a favorite club, or is it like your home, like in Atlanta, or would you say you
in
have
Atlanta? Do we have a favorite?
Yeah,
club?
or do you just in general like?
Probably just like the East Atlanta Village. There's 2 clubs on that block that are on the same that we just go back and forth between playing, called the Earl and
Yeah, the
529.
Earl. I played the Earl before. I love the Earl.
They're
Yeah.
literally like you just
Right.
walk down the street and you're at
Oh
the
wow,
other
okay.
one.
I haven't heard of the other
So,
one. What's it called?
529.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Good clubs. One's
Right.
a little bit smaller. One's a little bigger.
Well, I've always wanted to ask this question because I don't know. Like, when you go to Europe, do you guys rent equipment over there, so
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to carry your equipment over? And
We do.
I'm kind of partial to my own gear, so like, how does that work? Does the shit show up that you want, or is it just kind of?
I mean, you do kind of have to be trusting, of course, but
Right.
we are lucky in that our back line we rent from our agent. Actually, he just happens to own gear because he's in bands too, and
he knows
he's got good gear, so it's always fine. I mean, it's not ideal. It's not our like perfect setup, but it always sounds pretty good.
And you
sounds
take-
good enough.
Good enough, right?
You know?
And you take the same stuff around Europe.
Yeah.
Like once you get there, you take the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
usually have to get like a van while you're over there too?
Yeah, we have a van and a driver.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So I wanted to ask him the all-important Olympics question, though. Are you into the Olympics at all?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here's my question. I got into this with my wife. All the snowboarding events. I guess this happens with the X Games too. But have you noticed, like, all the competitors wear earbuds before they start, and they're kind of doing their own dancing around, like grooving to music?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I feel like it goes against the. I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to listen to earbuds before you do or as you're doing an event. Like, you should.
Oh, like as you. Are they allowed to listen to it?
I think they are. I think they're actually like doing. What are your thoughts on?
That is confusing because that doesn't really apply in any other Olympic sport. Right. I see the problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's just because I'm an old guy. Like, maybe it's an X Games kind of thing. Well,
especially because it's like, just because it's new doesn't mean, it's like, nah.
I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, do the snow skiers get to listen to disco while they're skiing?
I don't think so. And I don't think the figure skaters can wear earbuds.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Okay, I'm glad that you're on my side.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of weird, but but whatever. Hey, as long as they're bringing home gold for the USA. Yeah.
So we have about 400 to 500 listeners per podcast. Not a lot, but if we were going to play a song off the new record for them, first time they would ever hear it, a lot of these people are our age. So,
right.
What song would you?
Oh well, either of the singles would be great choices.
Okay.
The Southbound Station or Equestrian.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for talking to us.
Appreciate it. All right, so that was that. So I was admittedly terrible, but we want to thank Philip for coming and finding us to do the interview. And
sorry
OMNI,
it takes us so long to get this back, but we had to get Stinson on and up because his show was coming up soon.
And as you probably heard in the interview, I promised Philip that we would play 2 songs, and we started the current events section with Southbound Station. That was OMNI. But Henry, that show was great. They were great.
Man, they were great, and
gave me hope for new music, because these guys were young guys from Atlanta. And if you're in the Atlanta area, you should check them out if you get the chance. But so this is Equestrian by OMNI, and thanks again to Philip for doing the interview. All right, we're back. We got just a little bit of time here. Henry, have you seen the new Apple
you sent it to
commercial?
Me. Yes, you sent me this thing.
Did you? Did I send you the full version, or did I just send you
I
the
think
like?
you sent me. I mean, unless there's more than
There's like a 3-minute. Okay.
I saw the whole thing. I played it for the family. That was amazing. You think that was all? Any of that was CGI?
Oh, a lot of it was CGI.
It's the all right. So it's Spike Jonze.
So
the music is K.A. Twigs.
No, the music was actually Anderson .Paak.
Well, who's K.A. Twigs?
FKA Twigs is the girl in the video. Who is that? She's actually an artist too. She has albums out that really great. Check her out, FKA Twigs. Her boyfriend also is Robert Pattinson, the guy from.
Really?
By the way. Anyway, but she's a dancer as well as a music artist, but she does just dancing in this video. So she's the dancer. Anderson .Paak, if you haven't heard his first record, it's amazing. I should have brought him up when we talked about Kendrick Lamar because I think he's better but less well known. But anyway, two things about this, Henry, and then I'll get your reaction. The first thing is it sucks that the best music videos being made right now are commercials, and pretty much Apple does all the best stuff. But it is Spike Jonze who did my favorite Bjork video, so it's Spike Jonze. But yeah, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV when this comes up for me the first time, and there's no, the way I saw it the first time was like a minute edit of this. There's like a bunch of different edits. I don't know if you've seen, there's like a,
I haven't seen the edit.
There's a 10-second edit that plays, that's the normal.
What could you do 10 seconds out of that?
Oh, it's amazing. It's like a study in film editing if you see the different ways they've presented this commercial. But the 1-minute version, you never hear Anderson .Paak sing. You just hear all the breakbeat stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching this when she like disappears through the wall, and I'm like, this is what music is supposed to sound like in 2018. Oh my God. This is what the future sounds like. I didn't even know it was Anderson .Paak. I figured it was FKA Twigs' new record. Huh. And so then I heard that it was him, and I was like, wow, this dude's amazing. So
the music was remarkable, but also the stuff Spike Jonze did on the set, like pulling the things apart.
Yeah, and you're going to post the link to this, right?
Okay, yeah,
sure. And I want to play the Anderson .Paak song to finish this episode, but was it not the best music video that you've seen?
I don't watch music videos much anymore. But that was certainly one. I mean,
and did it not bother you?
It looked like a big budget situation, and it wasn't even about the Apple product so much. No. She just walked in and asked Siri, play something I like, and they immediately start off with the Anderson .Paak song.
I think
then she starts dancing around the place.
I think it was an ad for that speaker, right?
Yeah, you know, the home automatic.
But Apple's speakers. Like, we're so cool. We don't even really have to push the product that much.
Nope. No, the product is good. I'm sure I heard the speaker's great.
But I guess the reason I wanted to discuss it on the pod was I'm 100% down with it. I love it. I think it's great. Does it not bother you underneath a little bit? This is purely advertising.
No, it used to. In the old days, pushing against capitalism has sort of was part of the aesthetic of indie rock. You know, you sold records, but you sort of reluctantly participated in the capitalist intent of it all. I think now, of course, everybody loves Apple because the product's just so great, right? And they've aligned themselves with artists and all of that.
All their commercials rule, right?
Yeah. Never mind what pushes them to China and the other shit. But they have they push valid art, right, to our eyeballs. Is MTV going to do it?
Oh, for God's sake, no.
Nope.
No, and it proved to me too that video wasn't dead. I was like, oh my God, this is a great music video.
Yeah, but you can forget it that it's a commercial for the speaker. I'm not buying the speaker.
Well, listen, this is a first for our episode. We've had a few of these on this episode, but let's Henry, I'm going to have you say the words, and then we're going to go out on Anderson .Paak's new song, which is called Till It's Over. And if you get a chance to check out the Apple commercial, I hate to say that, but the Apple commercial, which has a song in it. So, Henry, take us into the song.
All right, we ain't got no goddamn band, Chris.
I'ma ride it till it's over.
I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride it. Ride. Ride. I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride. I'ma ride. I'ma ride. And don't all this new music sound the same? Yeah, we must be getting old and gray. We left early, girl, that band was anyway. We went home and left our clothes up in the living space. Say, would you stay if your heart had the power? Or would you run and find another life to imitate? It's important that we make the best of short time. You can never be my one and only anyway. Say, can't a young man dream? Can we all live the life on the widescreen? What's the point? Yeah. Yeah, we had fun if only for the time being. But I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride it till it's over. I'ma ride it till it's over.